Hey guys, got the really cool opportunity to interview Coach Mack from LWSRA. Obviously, Coach Mack is much like myself, very passionate about the game of wheelchair basketball. Not only his own experiences, but making sure that everybody within the sport kind of has some of their own experiences like his own. On this episode, we're going to talk about his transition from his high school experiences to college experiences to experiences he's had overseas to now how that's kind of translated into his professional career and different things like that. Just getting another kind of perspective from someone who loves the sport in much the same way I do and different things like that. Definitely a cool idea to have and going to have plenty more of people on the show that come from different backgrounds within the sport, and hopefully you guys take a chance to watch and get to know Coach Mack because again he's a really cool dude. All right, everybody. This is a cool situation to be in. Got hit up by my buddy Mac. He's a year older than me, so we've had a lot of the same experiences kind of at the same time, whether it be playing in high school together or playing in college. He's obviously had his own version of those experiences, so we're going to get on here, talk about that. He's going to ask me questions about obviously the things that I've experienced and things like that, and we're just going to kind of keep it afloat like that. Sound pretty cool, Mac?
Yeah, bro, that's sounds like a plan.
I appreciate you, dog, man. Way to keep it cool over here. So, like, man, like, so do you want me to kind of tell your story, or do you think you'll do a better job of that?
You know what, man? I want you to do it because this is your show. Like this is
Yeah.
your
So, okay. So,
right.
so you know what? Like, you kind of right, but like, we're talking about Mac today. So here, I'll be more specific about my questions to you, right? So let's
Yeah.
just start. Like, tell your story. Start from day one of wheelchair basketball. Like, how'd you find it? Like, what was your first day like?
Okay.
Who are some of those people you remember from your first day? Like that kind of thing.
Okay, for sure. So ask me the question.
So, okay, let's start. First day of wheelchair basketball. Before the first day of wheelchair basketball, right? Who's the person that found you and said, Mac, this is wheelchair basketball?
You know what, Jordy? That's a great question because I really love telling this story because it's very near and dear to my heart. So I was about 5 years old, and my parents took me to Cerritos Mall, and I was in my little, everyday chair with the full-on backrest and the anti-tippers, that whole deal. And I remember pushing around, and this lady, she starts kind of yelling towards our direction, like, "Hey, hey!" And this is blonde, blue-eyed woman, you know, young and super cool. She kind of stops my parents and says, "Hey, like, would your son want to play wheelchair sports?" And I don't remember the rest of what happened, but I remember being really afraid and upset that I had to go try out this new thing. But so this woman's name was Lisa Hilborn, and she was the program coordinator with Rancho Wheelchair Sports Program. So Rancho Los Amigos Rehabilitation Center, they had an adaptive sports program that catered to a lot of different adapted athletes. One of the sports just happened to be wheelchair basketball. So my Lisa, she stopped my parents. Again, she asked if I would want to play wheelchair sports, and the rest was history. That next week, I think I went to my first practice, and I fell in love with wheelchair sports, and I've never really looked back since then. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's kind of a weird process, right? Like, we're all in that spot now. Like, we'll get more into that later in kind of our conversations, but we're all in that spot where we're trying to, like, grow the game, right? And one of those weird situations we get in is kind of trying to explain to people, like, all the different options, right? And we've
Mm-hmm.
been kind of going through this process for a long time, again, which is something we can get into. So we have all this information and really only have about, what, 5 or 10 minutes to try to convince people that this is important. So that's
Yeah.
a crazy experience for sure, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, definitely. Can you talk about, okay, so like I'm a homie that's been around the game of wheelchair basketball for a while. Like, you might have said it in your conversations. I'm just trying to make sure we cover everything. Rancho, right? Where exactly is Rancho?
Yeah, so the Rancho Los Amigos Rehabilitation Center is in Downey, California. So that's about maybe 20 minutes outside of LA. Um, so at the time we had like these outside, chain nets for basketball, and we would play like wheelchair rugby, wheelchair tennis, wheelchair hockey, wheelchair football. So I started when I was 5 years old, and I continued through that program until I was about 18. I mean, with that program, I met, a lot of new family members because these are people that I still talk to this day. I go to them if I need advice or anything really. And every time we get together, it's like it's not like skipping it. There's never a beat skipped. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, I become little brother again, um, but it is what it is. That's what family is. But yeah, these guys they taught me from everything to making a bounce pass to sometimes tying my shoes to talking to a girl. Like, there's a lot of unique individuals within that program that I value to this day, and I love with all my heart.
For sure, man. So hey, it's definitely okay to play different roles within the family every once in a
Hmm.
while. So that's super cool. You talked about it a little bit, right? You mentioned like kind of your environment and what it was like to be a part of Rancho in the early years with chains and fences, and it just being 20 minutes outside of Los Angeles, right? So
Hmm.
I want to kind of talk about your environment as a kid and like maybe how wheelchair basketball like had an effect on that, whether it be positive, negative, whatever. Like, kind of talk about that a little bit. That would be super cool.
Absolutely, man. I mean, so I grew up in Long Beach, California, East Side, and so that area of California was a little more rough. Obviously, there was a huge gang presence, a lot of drugs, kind of drug pushing and things like that. And, a lot of my peers, they would get caught up in that mix. And I knew that if I was going to get caught up in that, my life would be over. There's so many people whose lives were taken away because they take that choice to go down that path. And for me, I knew probably at a very young age that sports was going to be my tool to get to where I wanted to be. Only reason why I knew that is because again, I had all these amazing role models, you know, and being with Rancho, it's funny to hear all about all these positive, motivating forces in my life. But these guys, they're put in the same position. These guys were former gang members. These guys got shot, like things like that. And now, like, to this day, now they're like engineers, they're painters, they're teachers. These guys are giving back, and if you would have asked them back then what they'd be doing now, like there's no way you would think that they'd be these positive role models. But again, I'm blessed to have met them because I definitely, if I would have taken that other path, I don't think I'd be around today. I don't think I'd be alive.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah, and so for me, like, especially having a disability or a physical disability, really it was a lot of negativity towards me, and uh, I don't know if my family ever felt that, like coming like from when I would go off to school, but growing up being different, obviously, one, I'm a minority. I'm a double minority. I have one leg, and I'm also Cambodian. Like, how many Cambodians do you know? And for me to go to school and look different in more ways than one, to try and be like, yeah, I play sports and things like that. A lot of people kind of brushed it off, which is why, again, I kept that camaraderie, that love so close to me, to the Rancho program, and of course my biological family as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like you're hitting on a lot of like good points, like right, like not
Mhm.
only like how wheelchair basketball affected you like from the start of your life, right, gave you a path for success early on, but
Mhm.
like how it changed people's lives, right. So
Mhm.
like unlike you, like some people like myself find it a little bit later in their lives and they don't have that direction, and now all of a sudden they're distracted with more positive things, right.
Mhm.
They're encouraging kids to be successful, and we're in these spots now, and again we'll get more into that, but where we encourage these kids, right, and then you
Mhm.
start to encourage these kids to do the right thing, and then all of a sudden what's that do to yourself? Well, if I'm going to be this person, right, that is going to encourage people to do this and this, then I myself, right, should be encouraging myself to take care
Mhm.
of these steps, kind of thing, you know what I mean? So like,
Absolutely.
just to talk about, you talked about a lot of different levels right there, man, on the impact that wheelchair basketball has, and one of the big things I want to do is just tell people that story, man. So like,
Mhm.
this is good stuff, bro. Good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So obviously, there's a lot of success within the Rancho program, right? Let's talk about like Rancho, right? You're from Rancho. Your program's in California. I played for the Wizards. Like, I'm from Wisconsin, man. Like, how the heck did we play each other? Like, you want to talk about that to these
Yeah,
people?
man. I mean, at least Rancho was blessed enough to have a private sponsorship group called Las Floristas. It's basically this group of wonderful ladies who put the money together and sponsored our wheelchair basketball team, and well, our sports program in general. We were able to travel to different tournaments throughout the country based off of their their philanthropy and their kindness. And so, for me, I didn't have to pay a dime growing up to travel at all. And that's why I can say I'm truly blessed because, again, growing up in Long Beach and coming from a low financial, economic family, I definitely don't think I would have been able to experience all things that I did without lots of Reese's help.
Yeah, I can definitely speak on that too, like,
Mhm.
and just from my experience, like I had like a mom who was single at the time trying to figure it out, take care of not only me, but two younger brothers. And now we're talking about wheelchair basketball thrown into it as a kid that doesn't have a lot of information, right? And now
Mhm.
like what's going to happen? Like, well, we can't do this, right? That's like the first thing. Like, it's too hard. It's too much information. It's all at once. So it's all these people that get together and say, hey, we're going to find a way, right? Because one, like, you play wheelchair basketball. What's the first step of playing wheelchair basketball? Buying a wheelchair, right? We're talking about being
Mhm.
from low income situations, from situations where we're at a little bit of a disadvantage. Like that wheelchair, we both know how much it costs. It costs what? 2,500 if you know a guy. If you don't, you're gonna pay
Mhm.
what, close to 4,000 for the guy.
Mhm.
It's pretty crazy, right? So those sponsorships are super huge. I might ask you a question about that later.
Yeah, for sure.
So a lot of success within the program, right? Obviously, you're a stud. Um, I remember you guys being ranked at least top 5. I don't know the specifics, so I don't want to throw out any numbers, but you can kind of talk about your success, right, within wheelchair basketball, because obviously it goes farther beyond you just being a kid and playing a sport. You were able to do some cool things.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever success we had on the court, it came because of how tight we were off the court. We had a great group of guys where we would literally link up every day, either to go practice or just to hang out. And that went from the juniors program up to the adult program. Like I mentioned before, these guys are my older brothers. I was an older brother. We got together whenever we could. We I remember, so my buddy Danny and Hector and I were like, we would push all around LA, or we would push from Long Beach to like Venice Beach, which is a really, like, if you guys want to take and like Google and see how that takes, like literally pushing. And but we were younger and we didn't care. We were together. We never saw it as like training. We were just out there trying to have a good time. I think obviously a lot of the credit goes to Lisa Hilborn. This was a young lady who was able to get a group of misfits, put them together, and keep us disciplined and focus on a main goal, and that was to win a national championship. Mind you, as we got older, we had other goals come to our mind. College became an option. That's something we never thought about until we got introduced to wheelchair basketball. Really, just being that positive role model to others. We have like a futures program to where we're able to give back, and help these kids develop their basketball skills or help them develop as people. Um, and the culmination of all that, that's really we can attribute that to the success on the court. Now, of course, we Rancho has this reputation of being super tough, real gritty, and I'm really proud of that because it's true. We never quit. We always push our butts off, and we do it for each other, not just for one person. And that was the biggest thing for us. Um,
Yeah, for a common goal, right? Like,
a common goal,
obviously,
yeah.
if everybody's striving through that common goal, you're just gonna support each other, like naturally. Like again, like you said, it's off the court. Like it's not just basketball. Like now, all of a sudden, like after basketball, like I'm not going home and sitting on my Xbox. Like I'm calling out my buddies and making sure we push city to city to see what
Hmm.
we can get into, kind of thing, right? Just to stay
Yeah.
active, whatever it is, right? You think
Hmm.
about an environment where you're outside versus just sitting in the house trying to figure it out. You're going to see a lot more outside, right? So right there, that's just one step I'm thinking of that probably the millions that benefited you from just being a part of the program. And
Hmm.
and you know what else is nice too? Just to hear you talk about your coach, like Lisa, like obviously I remember her, like, and like I can remember being down in Denver and being at junior nationals, and this lady just yelling like, this guy can't get past you, you're too good. Like, and I was like a 16-year-old kid. I'm like, man, like this lady's kind of crazy, right? But now as a guy
Hmm.
who's kind of been through the game a little bit and use some of those same techniques to encourages players, like it kind of makes me like every once in a while appreciate that moment, right? Like even before I talk to you, like individually, like I remember Lisa and I remember kind of like looking at her like, why is she so mean? And not really
Yeah,
necessarily
right.
nice. She was just being a basketball coach kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's super cool, man, for you to bring her up. Like, all
Mhm.
right, so obviously, right, and we're jumping everywhere and talking about some cool stuff. So success at Rancho, you're a senior in high school, you're thinking about going to college, like all the success is taking you somewhere. Where are you headed after high school?
I mean, you know what, brother? Like, I wish. So, I want to kind of take you through that process first, before I kind of let you know. I mean, so with any student athlete, once they're able to realize that they can use their sport, their favorite thing in the world, and use that to go to college, like that was the craziest thing. And I think another thing that I have to, attribute to my success is my teachers at in high school. They're total full support. I played football, actually stand up football at Long Beach Poly, and so with being on the football team, you had an academic advisor, you had someone that like made sure you were in class, even in high school. And even though they saw me like, I was in my wheelchair or like I'd be running around on my crutches, they still gave me that resource. They weren't like, oh, this kid's like, mm, like I wasn't just brushed off. Like they're like, no, like you're, So Long Beach Poly, our tagline or our motto is that we're the home of scholars and champions. And that was the thing. Like we made sure we got our work done. We made sure, we were putting work on the field or on the court. And so with that, like I was able to talk to a lot of my advisors, but hey, I'm really considering going to college, university. What do I have to do? And so we looked up a lot of different schools that I was interested in, and they were able to help me kind of pick through and just really see kind of the different steps that I need to take. And that was kind of like a gut check too, because a lot of these kids now they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to college. Like I want to do it. I want to do it. You want to do it, but they don't want to put the work in. So
Yeah. Everybody want to be famous. Don't nobody want to put the work in. That's
uh-huh.
kind of hard right
You're
there,
right. You're right, man. And then, but yeah, so that part of the process, like it was difficult. That was probably the most arduous part of it. All just making sure that I had the SAT score, the ACT or whatever. And mind you, like my SAT scores weren't the highest. The fact of the matter was that I had a lot of extracurricular activities and my GPA was really good. But it was also word of mouth, like just making my presence known, like, hey, this is what I want. Like reaching out to the different university coaches, like, I really want to play for you. Like, how do we get there? Um, and so obviously, I mean, for those that don't know, I attend the University of Illinois. That's always been, top of my radar, number one. And for me to be able to get there and just kind of see this plan kind of go through, I mean, it was such a blessing. Shout out to Maureen Gilbert, Michael Frogley, Matt Bushy, Stephanie Wheeler. These were, excuse me, Kate Rougeau, um, Wing, Stephen Fisher. There were so many people out there that I can thank for my time at U of I, and of course my teammates, and for them being able to reach out to me even when as a high school kid, and let them know that I'm wanted and that they're willing to do whatever they need to do on their end to get me in, as long as I hold up my part. That's love. You know.
Perfect. I do. I think, dude, this is all beautiful stuff. But I think something that's super important, like as a guy that's in grad school right now, I've been in a couple
Mhm.
different spots where I'm actually trying to help people get into school themselves, right?
Mhm.
And a big piece of that is what you talked about, like your end of doing what you have to do to get to school. Can you kind of talk
Mhm.
about like your expectations from these different people that you're bringing up and kind of what they needed you to do to help you do the things that you've done?
Yeah, and I remember like I took my campus visit my junior year. I met with Frog, and he told me like, yeah, like so there's Voc Rehab can help with your tuition and cover everything. We just need you to get your SAT scores up. We need you to keep your grades in check. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't get in right away. Like I was not like I didn't get into U of I my freshman year of college. I had to attend community college.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the fact that they reached out and were willing to put in the work on their end, for me, I knew like I had to get out of Parkland College and transfer to U of I. You know, one, because obviously I wanted to play for a very prestigious program, but two, I owed it to myself and my family to get my degree.
Yeah.
and just keeping that in the back of my head, like that's something that kept me going. Really just I remember checking, like, once I put my application in after going into Parkland, like to U of I after going to community college for 1 year. I remember checking every week, like, yo, all right, am I good? Talking to my advisor, like, hey, I got my credits in. What else do you need? And, sometimes the advisor would just be like, you know what? We just got to wait. And sometimes that's all there is to it. You got to wait. But really, I think the advice I have for all the young athletes out there is just really staying on, like, try and do your best to stay on top of things and really try and overplan. Because at the end of the day, when you overplan, you're able to kind of fall back on certain things. Having a plan B is huge. If you truly believe like you're going to go to a certain university or what have you, then you're going to make it happen. But just know you have to figure out each and every single step.
Yeah, dude. Like, if you don't mind, like, do you mind if I just jump in a little bit?
Do it, man.
Like,
Yeah.
you're talking about a lot of cool stuff, right? And so one of the things that's really sticking out that you're talking about to me is like your mindset, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
you brought it up before, you're a dude with a disability, so already like and I'm a dude with a disability that has like my own experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our mindsets are like have been lowered and are constructed and different things by other people's expectations, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
now we're trying to form our own, and especially with something so as hard as going to school, and all you hear is it's grades and you need ACT, and that's as simple as it gets broken down for you in high school. Like in high school, like I don't know, maybe just talk to me about like how did you keep your mindset like man, this is my goal, like this is what I'm gonna do, and like how did you not like get negative when you had to go to Parkland and you had to take different steps to get to where you were trying to go?
Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to a lot of great role models. So my teammates that were already at the U of I, like we would stay, obviously still keep in contact. I was able to redshirt with the U of I my freshman year. So I was still like able to practice and things like that. But I just wasn't able to play in games. I was able to, hang out with the guys and things of that nature. But just seeing that, the success they had, I'm like, man, I want that for myself. My family, my cousins, they all would push me. Growing up, you have your siblings and you have your cousins. Those are your first best friends, and these are the people that even though they're so my cousins and my brother and sister, they're all like 10+ years older than me. The fact of the matter is, like, that was a good thing because they were able to use their experiences to show me, like, dude, like, you already have these cards dealt to you. Like, it's time to play. Like, you got to play to win. And then it's, with that mindset, like, that kept me motivated. I mean, obviously, one of the biggest things too is my mom and dad. Growing up, again, low income situation. I just want to make sure that I can help in any way possible. And just, getting my degree from U of I, that was my ticket to anywhere. And so it wasn't a want. It was a need.
It was a desire, right? Like
Yeah,
what I'm hearing
it's
from you is just all the different reasons and all the different things that led to your desire, man. And I
mhm.
don't know, I'm listening to it. You can see me. I'm engaged.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this is a
Hmm.
cool story to hear, man. So I mean, if we're talking about Illinois, like obviously, like cool stuff, right? Like we've been
Hmm.
grinding and we've overcome some obstacles and like we've done some cool stuff. But again, we've done some cool stuff. So like, can you tell me like one of your favorite stories about being at U of I? Like I want like a personal one, like outside of basketball. I want a basketball story. I want all different levels, man, because it is bigger than just going somewhere to play basketball, right? Like tell me about your friends. Tell me about again like a memory you have with your coach, because I know like how much you guys like how much your coaches that you've had at U of I mean to you, and like I can relate to that just from like my experience with my own coach. So kind of want to hear what you had to say about that different stuff.
Absolutely, man. I mean, so I mean, I was blessed, be coached by multiple coaches at U of I. When I first got there, Coach Michael Frogley, who's a huge has a huge impact on the world of wheelchair basketball, and Matt Bushy. The two of them, they gave me a lot of different life lessons that I still use to this day. I think one of the stories that I heard, it was from Frog. I think it was a story about how there was someone drowning in a lake. Obviously, if you're able to help that person, you throw in the rope and you, you can throw in that rope, but it's about you reminding that person, don't let go of the rope. Like, grab hold of it, don't let go, because it goes two ways, right? If we see someone drowning, we got to be able to help them out. You know what I'm saying? We're not just gonna let them sink, what have you. And it's also up to that person that's thrashing about in the water. They gotta want to help themselves. And I took that as like, all right, there are gonna be people that are really negative about themselves, but if we try and have that positive impact on them, that's gonna motivate them to get out of that lake. It's gonna stop them from drowning. And that's something that I've used, with a lot of my, my friends and my family and things like that. And like that was just one of the coolest things. And forgive me because I'm probably like bashing the story. Like I don't like I'm probably not telling it right, but that's what stuck with me. And like yeah, just don't let go of that rope.
The effort that you like people have to put in for you to save them, right? You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
think about how many times, like even just going into detail on something like that, a story like that, right? Like how many times you can get yourself into trouble just by trying to help people that aren't helping themselves, and different
Mm-hmm.
things like that, so man, like I keep saying it, cool story, bro. Like this
Mm-hmm.
stuff is cool. I'm really excited, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man. Honestly, like tell me about. Okay, who's your best friend at, at the U of I? Like, who are you close to? Like, if you haven't hurt any feelings here, let's talk
Bruh,
about that a little bit.
you know what? It's gonna sound cliche. I had a big old family there.
Yeah.
And they're probably gonna watch whatever we put out. But like, I'm gonna tell you straight up. So like one of the first people I met at U of I that that was a student, his name is Ryan Jaguan. All right, I met him. He was going through Parkland at the time during my recruit visit, and he was telling me, yeah, like, I'm trying to do my best to get into university. I've been at Parkland X amount of years. I'm about to get into U of I. I'm like, yo, like this guy's this guy's like I see it in his eyes. And now R2 is Filipino. And so I was able to connect with him. I'm Cambodian. We're both, Southeast Asian, but I had known the word for brother in Tagalog, which is the national language of the Philippines, and it's pare. So I call him pare. From day one, I was like, "Oh, yo, I'm gonna call you pare," and he like looked at me like, "Oh, what? Like, how do you know?" And that was just that instant connection. And this is R2. He's able to connect with anybody. You meet him, he's just a lovable guy. But him showing me the ropes, right away, and just like this, unsolicited love, like he didn't even know me and he was ready to show me. And it was everybody. There's so many people I can name: Nick Weiss, Jacob Tyree, Brian Bell, Hiroaki Kozai, Josh Woven. I can go down the list. There's so many people that first year that just, and I used their teachings for that next group of guys that came in, and that was just, again, like all these guys. I mean, some of these that we play video games with them. Like it's just the craziest thing that even now, years after we finish university, we're still leaning on each other and supporting each other. Now, of course, you get all of us in a room, we're clowning each other, we're trash talking, but when we're away, like we're each other's biggest fans. And that's they gave me family, and they gave me love. That's so I don't have one single best friend. I got a big old U of I family.
I
Simple.
feel it, man. I definitely feel it. I mean, I'm not the biggest Illinois fan, but I could definitely relate from a Warhawk perspective.
I understand. Yeah.
You know what I mean, big guy. Yeah,
Mhm.
like I don't know, like if you don't mind, like I'll take a second to just kind of talk on that. Like just the environment, like you're a wheelchair basketball player. You show up to this to a program like Whitewater's a different vibe, right? Like everybody knows that from U of I.
Mhm.
Like like right away, like what I heard was like I got challenged right away. Like people wanted to know like who are you? Like okay, you're showing up and this is like you're here, but like what are your plans? It's like it was just a different experience. These guys were obviously a few years older than me, so like just doing things a different way, right? But like
Mhm.
where I come from, right, my family experience, I'm kind of used to those situations. I love the whole like, man, I'm gonna prove you wrong. Like if I'm showing up to a situation and you're asking me like
Mhm.
who I am, like I'm ready to like show you like this is who I am. And so that first year I kind of like spent a lot of time like just like literally doing that, like like using my personality, making friends, like made a lot of friends outside of like wheelchair basketball and different things like
Mhm.
that. But then the next wave comes in, like that wave sophomore year, right? And you're a part of like the recruiting process and bringing in people like Dylan Fishbach, that's a big goober, and becoming friends with him, like like you talk about that experience on how it makes you a brotherhood. Dylan from an outside perspective, he's this dude
Mhm.
that's loud and kind of crazy and loves to have a good time, and you can kind of look at it and make a face at it, but when you get to know the dude, like he's your brother. He cares about you. He wants to make sure you feel good as a person. So like getting to go through that experience and just having a friend like that, man, I can totally relate to like just what it means to just have a group of people that are going to embrace you, and
Mm-hmm.
like even better than that, like be okay with like pointing out like some of your flaws, like you said, like giving each other a hard time, but everybody understands that, like, yeah, everybody sees those, but we still love you in spite of all those things. So like, I don't know, man, like definitely a cool vibe, and super cool that you're bringing it up, man, because it's making me like reminisce on like all the different relationships I have as like or have as a player, you know what I mean, because of that experience. So just super
Yeah.
cool, man.
I think the biggest lesson that a lot of people learn in college and with the people they form these bonds with, you learn that loyalty doesn't come from, necessity, it comes from appreciation, bro. Like it's not, these people, they didn't know us, but they're able to open their arms to us and challenge us, better us, put us in different situations where we can succeed, also allowing us to fail, because that's also a learning point in itself, you know.
For sure, man. For sure, dude. Like friends are crazy, a crazy experience. But like you hear so many stories about people just being cool with being on their own, like a lone wolf. Like I'm just not that kind of dude, man. There's
Yeah, I
just so
feel
much
you.
you can learn from
No,
everybody.
you Jordy, no way.
Right,
No.
man? Like,
Yeah.
you think I come up with all these jokes off the top
Yeah.
of my head or these game plans? If you ever know I stole them from people, right? Have a conversation. It's like
Yeah,
that's a
boy.
lot of fun. So I'm definitely like, man, I love to hear the stories. I love to hear that guys are hanging out, having a good time at Illinois, making sure everybody feels welcome. Like not just making sure like everybody feels welcome, but like you said, man, you told a story about like, man, like something simple. I know just enough of Cambodia. I forgot what you said. Philip.
Tagalog, yeah.
Yeah, what was it?
Tagalog.
Yeah, Tagado. Thank you for
Just
for
say
not
the
letting me
Filipino
forget.
language.
Yeah,
We don't want to
this
hurt
is
people's
so
feelings
easy
here.
language to just freaking like, like that little extra special touch. Like, hey, I'm thinking of you. Like, I know this. I want to be your friend. Like those environments, man, and just to be embraced with them. I think wheelchair basketball, like, if we start to talk about, like, to talk to more people, right? If I have more people than just Mac Dong on here, I think we're gonna hear more and more of those stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
man.
that's not.
Yeah.
I just think that's a cool experience.
Yeah.
So, boom, man. We talked about a lot of cool stuff at U of I. Like, obviously, you got a good support system. Everybody knows U of I as being a good educational program, a good wheelchair basketball program, all these different environments for you to be successful. So where did U of I like lead you? Like what was next after U of I?
So after U of I, and actually this is a big part of my life. Well, there's two big internships that happened in between U of I. So a lot of people actually don't know this. After 2013, I failed out of U of I, and this is something like a lot of people like forget. But I did not put the work in academically, and with that, I needed time to really figure out. All right, is this really the major I want to be in? So I was a kinese major coming into school. When I got into U of I was a kinese major. After that, I was like, man, you know what? Like this is great. This is a really great field, but how do I really want to interact with the world? What do I want to? How do I want to leave my print on this world? So during that time, like I had a year hiatus, in which I did an internship at the Lakeshore Foundation. So it's a Paralympic Training Center in Birmingham, Alabama, and so
It's
after
all about who you know, man. It's all about who you know, dog. Keep
yeah
telling them. Go ahead.
yeah yeah so at this point in time, Lisa Hilborn, my coach way back then,
Yeah.
one of the associate directors at Lakeshore. So I hit her up. I was like, hey, you know what? Like, this is what I'm going through. Like, I'm really lost and I just need some guidance. And so I asked her like if I could just come really see what Lakeshore is about. What are the different things that people do? And I was able to, acquire an internship there. And again, it's about experience, like so many different experiences in Lakeshore. I mean, we could talk hours about anything that we've been talking about, but like just being out there and just really seeing the world of recreation, not only at an elite level, but really just seeing how the business side of things works as well. Like that was huge to me. Like it made me learn that I wanted to be able to still use sports in general to support other people. People forget, of course you want to take care of your body and things like that, but sport is one of the best medicines that someone can utilize. It could be a cathartic thing, it could be peaceful, it could be anything. And, Lakeshore really showed me that. I was able to see a lot of, different aspects, when Team USA came in for quad rugby, for women's wheelchair basketball, for the men's team, I was able to be a part of making sure that they came in, they were set, that they were comfortable, and really got to pick everybody's brain. Like, all right, like, well, why is X, Y, Z, and just really ask a lot of questions, just really be that really inquisitive person and just learn and just try and be a better version of myself. And with that, like, I knew right away, like, I wanted to get back. I wanted to be a rec major. So that was my goal after that. So
finding your why, right? Sometimes you need to do that. And I just want to be your homie right here, man. Like, yeah, man. You're doing a good thing. Like, a lot of people would come up here and try to sound cool, but you're doing something that's going to impact the kids in a positive way, I think. And just being honest about your situation, right? Everybody thinks you go off and everybody wants to just go to high school, go to college, find a job, like, and just have it like stack out that way. Unfortunately, that's just not the way life goes, and for you to be someone who is up here honest, just being like, listen, I had to fail, come back and do all these different things, I think is going to be huge for kids down the road. So definitely appreciate that, man. Go ahead and keep going on what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, man. I mean, no, but just feeding off that, like, life's about experiences, brother. And, again, another big piece of advice to those student athletes out there now, it's just really just finding your process, finding your why, like you said, and then it's not a race, realizing it's not a race, and doing the things at your own pace, because everything will unfold as it should, as long as you put the work in. And people want to rush that, but you know what I'm saying? You ever had uncooked chicken?
Yo,
chicken before. You really want to make sure that chicken is finished.
I've had it.
Yeah, you had it. Yeah.
It's no good.
Yeah.
No, definitely, right? Like, and I can speak on that too. Like, after finishing my career at Whitewater, just like, again, it was a mindset thing. Like, man, I'm about to be done with basketball, and I use basketball like so much of my crutch is just through life. Like, and I've always had it to structure everything out and everything. And now, like, I'm done with basketball. Where do I go next, right? And when you get in that, where do you go next, like, mindset, when you don't like actually have a plan for yourself, when you don't have a why, it's pretty easy to get kind of negative and complacent just with where you're at, right? So, like, again, all those different things that you're able to do, whether it be surround yourself with a support group or take that support group's help, right? Because you can surround yourself with a support group, right? And all these people can sit here and say, Mac, you're awesome. But, like, what I like to tell people at the end of the day, if Mac doesn't think he's awesome, if Mac doesn't think he has the ability to go do all of these things that people are trying to help him do, right, he's not going to go do it, right? So, again, getting back to that mindset of where you're at, like, I had the ability to get my degree from U of I. I had the ability to go back and get and finish after failing back. To the mindset, man, it's just so important, man. So important.
Yeah, so, and it's mental, man. It's like 99% mental. Just because, for me, like, with my family, your education was always the biggest thing. And then when that experience happened, when I didn't do so well, it was like letting, my family down, letting myself down. But it's really about digging deep. And again, like, if you really want it, you're going to do it. You feel me? Like, it's just, there's no ifs or buts.
It is.
Wow.
And it is, right? It's as simple as that. If it's something you want to do, it is.
It
if
is. It is.
The things that it takes to get the job done, then it's not something you want to do. It's not, right?
But yeah, no. But going back to, Lakeshore helped me find my love for recreation again. I go through Parkland. I'm back at it again. I'm like, man, I'm roaming these halls again. So, for those that know about Parkland, they know about room D120. D120 is the study hall that I had to go in and log my hours in. A lot of people will tell you, like, yo, you look at my login hours, it's like, what, 40 plus hours a week. I had basically a job during school.
Yeah, bro.
And, that people would know, like, oh, here comes Mac. Here we go. He's going to stay here for X amount of time. But yeah, it's just, but being back in there, I knew that as much as that place helped me, I never wanted to be back in there.
Yeah.
Another motivator.
Yeah.
But going past all that, I got my grades back up. I was able to transfer back into U of I. But at this point, it's kind of a different feel. So I think this was 2014, I believe. So by now, Matt Bushy had come in and took over the program as head coach. And now, so an interesting thing about his situation was that, he learned from Frog as well. All right. And so he had the challenge of kind of filling, Frog's shoes, but, with the way he did
Yeah.
things.
So I actually just got interrupted by having to go to the bathroom. What we're going to do is pick up the conversation with my man Mac right here. He was telling us about his experience going from one coming back to a new situation with a new coach, right? You're talking about Matt Bushy and different things like that, and just your environment there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, biggest thing I wanted to shout out to Matt Bushy. He, obviously he's currently the head coach at U of I now, and he's doing a fantastic job. But for him coming in, like that was a whole new experience, and we kind of vibed in a way, in the sense that where I was a vet coming back, but I was learning new things. The same thing with Bushy. Like he knew U of I way, like prior to his time, he was ready to mix things up and make improve on things, and he's done a great job, fantastic job at that. And so coming back, there's these young athletes. There's these, I got some of my old teammates with me, but there's a whole new squad, young faces, and we're just like, oh, like what are these guys doing? And really just trying to adapt back into it. But because of that buy-in from everybody, we were all able to get real close, real quick. We were able to adapt to the different things, new cool things, and just really try and move forward as a program. As a student, I became more locked in than ever, because now it's like, all right, I have to take, kind of take of what I had my reputation prior to that, and then bring it back to these new guys, but also understand that I still have to get my stuff done and take care of myself, you know? And so I was able to push through, just again, building relationships with these guys, utilizing all my resources. That's another thing for these kids. Use your resources when you get to school. All right.
I'm falling so big, bro, because I got players on my team that literally walk up to me and they're like, use your resources, right? Anytime they use a resource. So it's funny
use
that
your
you say that. Go
resources.
ahead, man.
Whether that's your coach, whether that's your athletic director, whether that's a tutor, whether it's your teammates. We it's kind of a weird thing, because sometimes like our biggest supporters can be our biggest threats. Have you ever heard of a SWOT analysis already?
I mean,
Okay, so it's your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Sometimes your threats can be your strengths. You know what I mean? And I say that because it's like, all right, we love, my teammates, we love each other so much. Sometimes we spend too much time together, and that could go against like our studies and things like that. And so big thing for me was like, all right, work-life balance. It's just trying to find, all right, I got to be a student but X amount of time, got to be an athlete X amount of time, then I just got to be Mac for another percentage of that time. Like,
you did that, you rapping a lot like they were 50-50, so I don't know where you get
yeah.
Bro, but yeah, man, it's a tough job. Go ahead and go.
It is.
I mean, yeah, dude, that definitely, like, I definitely hear what you're saying, man. And like, you think about being a college athlete, all of these different things, right? You're trying to balance out the schedule, and it's already tough for you, like, right? You've already had to fail at it and come back, and it's just different stuff like that. Again, keeping your mindset. I'm kind of rambling here, man, so I'm gonna throw it back to you and just keep letting you flow, because you're doing great.
Yeah, bro, and that's the I mean, just trying to have that, trying to get over that fear in the back of your head, because like, okay, I didn't get into school the first time. I got in, I failed out. Now I'm back.
Yeah.
All right, do I become a cautionary tale?
Back, dog. Oh, yeah, you know what it is. I'm still here, dog.
But it's literally about just keeping that focus and using resources, and just trying to make sure that, I mean, you don't repeat the same mistakes that you did before.
Yeah.
And so I was able to kind of just overcome that, use my teammates when possible. And then next thing I knew, like, I was getting ready to graduate. And it was another thing, man. It's a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, right.
We have this place called Drez. And so Drez has like these couches, and it's kind of the area where all the student athletes come, they study. I'd be in there like 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. Our athletic director come in like, you still here? Like, just things like that. And I'd sleep on the couches, it took that for me. Like, yeah, some people, they might not have struggled as much as me academically, but for me, like I needed to do that. I
Yeah,
really locked in. And, I think I think for the first time in forever, like I did things for myself, and that's something I had to learn to be okay with.
yeah,
They're afraid that, oh, I don't want to be selfish, I got to help others. But again, it goes back to that story about don't let go of that rope. You yourself can't let go of that rope because you could be drowning and you got to pull yourself out sometimes.
for sure, man.
Yeah.
For sure. So, dude, like, I love this a lot. Like, I love it, man. Like, we're talking about some cool stuff. U of I was really cool, man. But, like, it's made you into this cool person you are now. So, like, let's transition from talking to, like, about U of I and going to college and struggling through school because, we struggled, but look, we figured it out, right? And what's good
Mm-hmm.
about our video right now is we definitely took the steps to tell people, like, how we struggled and how we fixed the problem, right? We didn't just say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, man, we struggled and we got back. Like you took your time to like tell people that, man. And that's
Hey.
important, man. And you're gonna be appreciated for that for sure. So like, tell us where it got you. Like you're at U of I, you graduated, you partied because you graduated, you celebrated, you feel good. What are you doing next?
So, dog, the day after graduation, I drove myself to Scarborough, Canada. I'd acquired an internship with Team Canada at their Paralympic Training Center. So again, everything kind of always goes full circle. Michael,
All about who you know, baby.
who was one of my former coaches, I asked him like, "Hey, I need an internship to get get my degree. Can you please let me come work for you?" But yeah, come on. So I went out to Canada for a couple of months and really, again, just got to meet a lot of wonderful people, learn the ins and outs of running a national team. Really just seeing the different things, running a international event. So during my time there, we ran under 23 World Championships.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? And so being able to be a part of that, like that's a blessing, and really just being a part of Team Canada's training and really seeing the different ins and outs of everything. I don't want to get too specific because obviously, there's things you can't really, you don't want to bring to the public, but
Yeah.
no, they had a way of success and of training in which they've been grinding hard, and you can see it in in their preparation leading up to Tokyo. Now, mind you, Tokyo's not happening till next season, but I'm gonna tell you right now, like they've been putting the work in, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens at next year's Paralympics. Um, but again, so being there, I got to pick a lot of brains and really gather a lot of information, really see um, how much I wanted to really be in that world still. I think the coolest thing though, so during my time there, like part of me was like, "Oh, I don't know." Like after graduation, I was like, maybe I need a break from basketball. Maybe I need to find myself away from sport. But during my time in Canada, I got my love for basketball again. And so I started looking into, all right, well, why can't I play pro? You know what I mean? Like people have always said, like, you can do it. Like just go and take your shot. Like, you know what I mean? And really just let the teams out there know you're available and you're ready to come play. And so like just talking with like different guys like David Ang, Patrick Anderson, Nikola Ganchin, a lot of I'm just name dropping now, but like all these guys, they're able to give me a lot of advice in which like what to expect, and also know that it's going to be a different type of lifestyle because coming from these prestigious programs, you're at Whitewater, I went to U of I. There's a lot more structure. Okay, and so like going into the pros, like I knew like that was going to be the thing that was going to be weird. So finished my internship there. Again, made a lot of great relationships. But I knew from that point on, I wanted to uh, play internationally. And so during my time there, I also the different club teams I looked like. There were teams in Germany, teams in France, teams in Spain. I ended up picking France because I don't know, like that was just one of the adventures I've always wanted to go on. I mean, again, it's life's about experiencing everything you can. Like for me, like that's just something I want to embark on and to have that opportunity. That it's probably one of the greatest experiences of my life. So I got picked up by a team called Luke Handy Basket, which is a team out in Lille, France. So it's about 2 hours south of Paris. And, my time there, it was definitely different because a lot of people think it's a lot of glitz and glamour, but again, they forget about that work aspect. I'm a guy that doesn't speak a lick of French, coming from America, going to Europe, trying to leave my mark on this team without speaking the language. And that's what one of the coolest things about sport is that it brings people together. A lot of my teammates, they didn't speak English, so I had to learn like little cues here and there to be able to work on the basketball court. For my teammates that did speak English, like they helped me out tremendously. My team owner, Ramuald, he helped me from day one till the final day. Like he was always looking out for me and just making sure that I was comfortable, but also putting me in the right position to be successful as an athlete. Because at the end of the day, like you're getting paid to play a sport. You got to win. You're trying to win. Um, and so for me, we were training every day. I had access to a little gym by his house, and then we had our own gym in the city. That's where we ran team practices and things like that. But I mean, the biggest takeaway from it though was just really exploring the country, like Europe. I was able to go visit friends in Germany. I got to see my brother in Kaiserslautern. I went to Amsterdam. I went to London to visit another friend that I made at U of I. Like, shout out Helen Freeman, and Ryan Wright and Corey Rossi, and Anthony Pone. Like all these guys, they gave me, they showed me love out there and showed that Americans can excel. And so like with that, we were able to somehow my team and I were able to get together and really make it through the playoffs and win the championship. And that's something I'm able to put on my, that's a bucket list, win a championship, let alone a professional championship. And that's just one of the coolest things that, and again, it took a lot of grit, it took a lot of patience, because you're able to yell at your teammates in English out here, but over there you gotta hear your coach yelling at you in French and yelling at your teammates and things like that, and just really adjusting to the game. But it's all about preparation, and that so France really taught me about preparation, patience, and really just empathy, and really just trying to like figure out how to work with people, how to get people to want you to be successful. So like that's one of the greatest things I've ever had to experience, and I want every kid out there to be able to try that, experience that. But of course, get your degree first, and then go do it.
Yeah, for sure. How long did you play over in France? So you played
So
1 year?
I'm all one and done. Like so I was I had a 1-year contract. Upon winning a championship, I was offered a really good contract to come back. A lot of different teams, like in different countries, offered gave me contracts as well. But I was actually very blessed to be. Keith Wallace had reached out to me. He's the director of Lincoln Way Special Rec. He said, "Hey, this recreation specialist position is open. Would you want to come do it?" And looking into it, just kind of seeing what the the motto and the values of this company was. That's something that I had always wanted to do. Going back to me realizing recreation is what I want to do. For me to be able to give back, like how my coaches did for me, and for me to be put in that position to be a leader in the adaptive world and show that we can use recreation and sport to get to where we want to be in life. That's what I do every day for my kids, for my athletes. And show that it doesn't matter if you have a disability or not. If you have a dream, you have a goal, you're gonna be able to achieve it as long as you keep working towards it. And that's for me as a coach, as a rec specialist. That's something I get to do every single day. Life's about purpose, right? I couldn't justify just waking up playing basketball every day, for a paycheck. Like, yes, you need money to live, to function, but I'm very I believe in spirituality and making this world a better place for others than others left for you. And with this position, I'm able to do that.
Yeah. Hi, Max. So I'm gonna let you know, man. Like honestly, like it's super awesome that we had this conversation. like obviously you're a really cool dude that's been able to do some cool things within the sport from all different levels to high school to the transition to college, and then after college even having more opportunities with that. So like I guess now that you're at LWSRA and responsible for making sure that like you're passing that torch on to these young juniors, like what are your goals for like passing that torch? Like what do you like if at the end of the day we're talking and people are saying, wow, Mac Nong made a difference on the sport and this is what he did, what do you want people to say?
Yeah, brother. I mean, that's a great question. So obviously, education is a big part of it. I really want to make sure that our athletes know that they can use this sport as a means of getting to where they want to be in life. Like that's the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest lessons you and I learned as student athletes. That's something I do with my athletes every day. And again, like I'm doing great checks. I'm making sure that my athletes know that there are different universities out there that are willing, to give them scholarships to play wheelchair basketball. But honestly, it's about improving their resources. Like we had good resources growing up, like you and I. Like, but at the end of the day, like I want something better for them as well, in order to like grow the game and also grow their world. Again, by using this sport.
Yeah, man. I think it's definitely cool to like always want better, right? Whether it's for yourself or just the environment you're around, right?
Mhm.
Because if we get in a complacent situation, I don't know, like like it again goes back to that expectation thing, right? If we if we
Mhm.
if we get complacent, we level out our expectations. If we're always striving and trying to do what we can to improve a situation, obviously the expectation can get raised for these kids with disabilities. And obviously you've seen what happens when you raise the level of expectations for a kid with a disability, right? You end up
Mhm.
going over to France, hanging out with girls in France or whatever it is. Probably not appropriate not to talk about nowadays because you have a
Yeah.
girlfriend and all that, but like you know what I mean? Like all
Mhm.
that good stuff gets to happen, kind of thing, right? And man, Mac, like we see it in you, like from an outside perspective, again, like we see it in the way you like interact with your kids and the way the kids interact with other programs around the country and different things like that. And we can see that you're like you're striving towards those goals, right? You're taking those specific steps to make things happen for them, like not only just like you did for yourself just a few years ago, man. So definitely wanted to take the time to let you know that like you're a stud and people see it, and definitely appreciate it from guys like me who are trying to do the same thing around here.
Oh, man, those I appreciate your kind words, bro. But you're doing great things as well, and it's not about what we're doing individually together. Like what we do, like I like to think of it. All right, kind of like the Avengers. Like we do good on our own, or when we collaborate, we can take down anything, man. We could
Yeah,
do.
right. And like just to kind of add like my little Jordy shot, I could touch on it. Like a lot of people hear me say I, right? And I talk about my own personal experiences within the sport. And the reason why I do that is just because again, like, right? Remember back to our conversations, you talk about like owning your experience, owning like what you can do, like that goes so many levels, right? So you have to like own like what it meant to you. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's hard for you to tell somebody else's experience. So like every once in a while, man, just be cool with telling people that you're cool, because when you start to do stuff like that, man, like just think of all the stories you just told us. You're gonna do some cool stuff, right?
I feel you, man. I feel you.
Hey, man, Mac, I appreciate you, dog. All right, man.
Mhm.
This is a good way to start off our first episode, and definitely, man. Just appreciate you for being honest about your story, so kids can use this as a tool to hopefully raise their level of expectations. You know?
Right. No, absolutely. And then we talked about just making those improvements and resources. That's something that I think we as young professionals in this game we can improve on for everybody, not just our kids but the entire sport. In the states, we have a lot of resources out there for people that are trying to build programs and trying to figure out the right way of doing things. And I think it's up to us to continue to add on to those things, in order for people to get what they need. Um, because right now, I don't feel that we are at the level that we need to be at in terms of exposure, marketing, things of that nature. There are different countries out there that are kicking our butts, in terms of like showing the growth or growing the sport. And I think it's because we get caught up in kind of doing things how they've always been. And of course, there's value to that, But with all the different um, different things that are going on out there, like we really have to come together and try and find a way of cataloging the right process, and also using that, and obviously using that to make sure that, again, these kids or these athletes now, they have the resources to get to where they want to be, whether it be university or even trying to figure out a different like a trade school, finding their way and using that using the sport to get that opportunity. um it just goes back to having that constant communication with everyone. When I say everyone, I mean the different teams, different coordinators, and just really getting different ideas. uh we can't get, like we talked about earlier, complacency is the death of anything. And I feel like wheelchair basketball, at least in the States, it's been a bit complacent, and that's why we can't accomplish the things that we need to properly show that this sport is out there, and this is something that our kids can use, um, again, to be successful. But
Yeah, man, and you know what? The biggest thing is just owning, like, like I want to own my opinion in that, and I have to say I agree that like we'll obviously have more conversations. Like, I want to have you back on. Like, honestly, Mac, like this is good stuff. You're in a position where like you have a lot of influence on the junior division nowadays, and like you're a guy I want to work with, man. So like, yeah, dude, like definitely want to have you back on. But just as far as, man, I'm losing my train of thought, but dude, like, yeah. Well, I was talking about owning that, like owning like that kind of situation and telling you I agree with you, right? And then
Mhm.
like you talk about like also like or like you and I talked about like right, like I was kind of hyping you up and telling you not to be afraid of like kind of owning who you are and like what makes you special in this process and all the things you've done. Like I think it's good that you're kind of taking the mindset of like let me sit back on this, like let me like see what I can do to like work with other people because you think about doing things that the way they've always been done. I think that starts to happen because too many people think they have the right idea, and
Mhm.
their idea is the only idea that works. And like there's more than one flavor of ice cream. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's more than one country in the world. Like that kind of thing. Like there's a variety of different ways to kind of to get things done right, and different opinions of that. Like I think having your understanding is important in that process, man.
Yeah, no, no, thanks, man. And that's it's just going based off what I feel and how we feel, and I think people are afraid to voice their opinions sometimes. And but at the end of the day, we all want change. We want positive change.
Yeah. You know
And
what, man? Being afraid to voice your opinion, man, it's hard to like come about change when you're in that mindset, right? So for you to
Mhm.
take the steps like necessary to like come out and like say like some of these things, like man, that's important for like not only like just you, right, personally, but like the rest of our sport, like making sure that everybody kind of gets heard and how we get things done, right?
Yeah.
Hey
Yeah.
man, like this conversation was super beautiful, man. Like definitely want everybody to know that like Mac Nong is Mac Nong and he's doing some cool things out there and has done some cool things. If you guys take the time to watch this video, like know that you can reach out to Mac, you can reach out to myself. Like we're two guys that are going to use our personalities and our skills and knowledge within the game to work with people. Again, Knights of the Round Table. The reason why we're like I feel I'm having success in myself, Mac, I can't speak on you, but I would say that that success comes from surrounding myself with people like you, Mac, and that are going to help me do the things I want to do, man. So definitely keep me and you. Definitely appreciate your help, man. And like, again, we'll look forward to having these conversations again, big fella.
Hey, nah, man. Thanks for having me on X's and O's, brother. We got to keep moving the game, baby.
No problem, man. Hey, so we're all coaches, right? I don't know. I might be putting you on the spot, but do you have like a coach's quote or anything like that you want to leave us with?
Coach is cool. You know what, bro? This is something that I've always told people throughout my time on this earth, and it's just to dream well, so tomorrow you may achieve those dreams. As much as life is hard and things get real, but you don't have your dreams, man. If you don't have anything to work towards, then what's life? You feel me? It's about making these dreams come true. On my class ring, we were able to kind of embroider like a message on it, and on mine I put dreams came true. You know what I'm saying? Because me graduating from U of I, graduating from college in general, that was always a big dream. Me winning a professional championship, me winning in general, that was always a dream. I kept dreaming, I kept thinking about it, working towards it. Now we're talking about it. it's done.
Hey, hey, baby, I love you, man. Appreciate you for coming on, big dog.
I love you too, baby. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.